This is the inaugural Global Read-a-Thon for the Center for Studies on Africa and its Diaspora, coming to you from Georgia State University in Atlanta. Here is former CNN anchor and White House correspondent, Suzanne Malveaux.
Hello and welcome to the inaugural Read-a-Thon, brought to you by the Center for Studies on Africa and its Diaspora, as we fondly call it, CSAD, here at Georgia State University. I'm Suzanne Malveaux, live in Atlanta. I am so excited that you're joining us. We are here in honor of Black History Month, a celebration of the contributions of African Americans to U.S. history, the brainchild of historian Carter G. Woodson. The event was initially a week-long celebration honoring the triumphs and struggles of Black people in America. It became a month-long observance February in 1976. Well, today we're commemorating the works of laureates whose novels continue to impact our society. We're also recognizing the powerful impact of education. You know, for me personally, I'm just so honored to be here. My family grew up in the segregated South. 3 of my 4 grandparents only had an elementary school education. My parents, they both went to HBCUs, my dad at Howard, my mom at Xavier. They lifted a whole generation out of poverty and to a whole nother level. Dad became the dean of Howard's Medical School and my mom an elementary school teacher because academics was first. So let's celebrate some books, some authors, the possibilities of the ground that we could break today. It is going to be jam-packed, so let's just get started. I brought a couple of my favorites. I got The Color Purple, I got Sula, I got Nikki Giovanni, Cotton on a Candy Day. I'm telling you, it's going to be exciting. We're going to be reading from Africa and the African diaspora. We're going to have presenters from around the world, reading from those influential, well-known books written by people of African descent. In just a few moments, we're going to head to the Gambia in West Africa, the first setting of one of the first books that stimulated interest in African genealogy. All right, we're talking about Alex Haley's Roots, the saga of an American family. Now, this book literally started a movement. We're going to then head over to Ghana to hear a favorite character from the classic movie, The Color Purple. She's going to read excerpts from that critically acclaimed novel. Then we're going to have a layover in Europe, stopping by Germany at the Obama Institute to hear a compilation of readings and also watch some performances. I think it's going to really touch you. We're then going to head back here to Atlanta for my intimate conversation with so many scholars here. This is a segment that we're calling Knowledge is Power. But our journey, not going to end there. We're going to jet over to the Caribbean, to Kingston, Jamaica for some poetry, a little bit of reggae, then back to Atlanta here for award-winning author Tayari Jones, bringing alive some of the words of her best-selling book, An American Marriage. It is a reading, you're not going to want to miss that. You also don't want to miss all these performances, the singing, the dancing, sprinkled throughout this show. So we want you to stick around for the whole day till the very end. Let's go. We are kicking off the first hour in the Read-a-Thon with, of course, the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, a hymn that was written as a poem by James Weldon Johnson in 1900. Well, that music was composed by his brother, John Rosamond Johnson. Here is Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Lift every voice and sing, earth, heaven, ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies resound the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. March on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, the chastening rod felt in the days when hope We have come, treading our path through the blood of the slaughter, out from the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of my star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk of the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand. True to our God, true to our God, true to our native land, true to our native land.
Such a beautiful song that captures the hope that many Black Americans had at that time. Joining us now to talk more about today's event is the Provost and Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs, Nicole Parson Pollard. Congratulations on your position. This is a very exciting time. I mean, clearly you have put a lot of commitment behind the program, not only for CSAD, but also the importance of literature, of reading, and books. I mean, you've really attracted people around the world to this occasion. What do you hope to accomplish?
I think what we hope to accomplish is that we remind people that we need to take these moments to understand one another's history, and that can very well be done through literature. And so, as an institution of higher education, we promote learning at all levels, and so this is a great opportunity for us.
And this is in the heart of Atlanta. I mean, we're talking about the civil rights movement, and this is around the globe. How do we relate this event today, the books that we read today, to the outside community, to those in the state of Georgia, and to those beyond our state boundaries?
I think the most important thing is that often, so Black History Month, and so educating about Black Americans and Black American life, I think, is not only an American history, but a part of the world's history. And so it's so important and so valuable for all of the things that we're talking about here, and the books and the learning, and to take this particular moment to spread that across the globe.
How do we take it out of February, Black History Month?
I think we remind people that Black history is indeed American history. If we don't actually think about our past, it doesn't allow us to think about how far we've actually come. I am the great-great-granddaughter of an enslaved person. That's an accomplishment. That's progress. And I think we get to tell our story throughout the year and not just during February.
This moment allows you to tell that story, to reveal that to people. How difficult is that on a day-to-day basis?
I think on a day-to-day basis, I mean, you've heard many Black Americans say, I have to work twice as hard to get half as far. I think part of that is sort of ingrained in you. What I'm hoping and what I see in today's generation of students is they say, absolutely not. I want to be able to be on the same playing field as everyone else, because I know I'm just as capable as everyone else. So I think as we move into younger generations, they get to think differently about that, and they are experiencing a different renaissance. And I'm excited for all that they are going to be bringing to the table, quite frankly, and I'm so proud to have Georgia State to be educating more African Americans in most institutions in the nation. And so our diverse student population gives us a different opportunity to be able to do this work.
And it's all about books today. So
All
you
about
got
books.
to tell me, what's your favorite book? Is there a book that really touched you, that moved you?
Well, I'm going to say the first, indeed, was I Know Why the Cage Birds Sing. I mean, it's so interesting. So you have some of my others here, The Color Purple, of course, the autobiography of Malcolm X. But I also wanted to share a more contemporary author, Brittany Cooper, who's an associate provost at Rutgers, wrote Eloquent Rage. Such a wonderful, wonderful book. And so the great thing about books is that we have authors that rise up from our past and these new ones that rise up to our future.
Tell us about Eloquent Rage, real quick.
Eloquent
What's
Rage,
the basis? Why did it move you?
It's a feminist manifesto, and it was a time during my life where I needed a good girlfriend, and she does the audio version of the book, and I would listen to it, and it felt like she understood me. And she gave me the strength that I needed at the time. I used to jokingly say, because I was in New Jersey at the time, that she was my best friend. She just didn't know it.
Maybe one day you'll get to meet her, don't you think?
Absolutely.
You could invite her to the university. She could be a part of the next Read-a-Thon.
That would be wonderful. We'd love to have her. I hope you're watching.
Is there a book inside of you that you think you'd like to write?
Yes, I've been thinking about a leadership book, and I think in particular about women and women's leadership, and not just those in higher ed, but the ways in which women have to navigate the world, the way in which women in their various intersectionalities have to navigate the world through leadership. And I think that at this time, it's probably just the right time for us to have a new conversation about what leadership actually looks like.
I would love that.
Yes.
Yes. Well, we thank you so much for your time. We really
you.
appreciate it. It's so enlightening. And thank you for your commitment, too, as well. This is a very special occasion. And of course, we can hardly wait to expand the Read-a-Thon to not just 7 hours, but 24. I'm just
24.
saying. Okay?
Yes.
Maybe next year, 24.
Exactly.
All right. We'll take. So I'm sure you're aware, we've been seeing a lot of books being banned from libraries and schools across the country lately, even around the globe. According to PEN America, the most banned books include ones from Nobel laureate Toni Morrison. Here are the ones banned in 2021 and 2022 school years. That stops. As you just saw in that graphic, Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye and Beloved are now banned in many school districts across the United States. Her second novel, Sula, is also facing a ban for its sexual themes. Published in 1973, the book tells the story of two close-knit childhood friends who took different paths to womanhood. The evil versus good story painted a vivid portrait and conundrum of what it means to be a Black woman in America. Today, we are honored to have with us an Atlanta icon, former WSB anchor Monica Pearson, here to read excerpts from Sula.
Thank you, Suzanne. That book is a Black feminist piece of literature. It defines how women look at each other and look at themselves. Women in this book are defined by the people around them, but that's not how the women see themselves. This is a book to me that shows the price Black women pay for being their authentic selves. This is a book about family, motherhood, friendship, and loss. When she got to Sunnydale, the home for the aged, it was already 4 o'clock and turning chilly. She would be glad to sit down with those old birds and rest her feet. A red-haired lady at the desk gave her a pass card and pointed to a door that opened onto a corridor of smaller doors. It looked like what she imagined a college dormitory to be. The lobby was luxurious, modern, but the rooms she peeped into were sterile green cages. There was too much light everywhere. It needed some shadows. The third door down the hall had a little name tag over it that read, Eva Peace. Nell twisted the top and rapped a little on the door at the same time, then listened a moment before she opened it. At first, she couldn't believe it. She seemed so small sitting at the desk in a black vinyl chair. All the heaviness had gone, and the height. Her once beautiful leg had no stocking and the foot was in a slipper. Nell wanted to cry, not for Eva's milk-dull eyes or her floppy lips, but for the once proud foot, accustomed for over a half-century to a fine, well-laced shoe, now stuck gracelessly into a pink terry cloth slipper. Good evening, Miss Peace. I'm Nell Green. Come to pay a call on you. You remember me, don't you? Eva was ironing and dreaming of stairwells. She had neither iron nor clothes, but did not stop her fastidious lining up of pleats or pressing out of wrinkles, even when she acknowledged Nell's greeting. Howdy, sit down. Thank you, Nell sat on the edge of the little bed. You got a pretty room, a real pretty room, Miss Peace. You eat something funny today? Ma'am? Some chop suey, think back? No, ma'am. I don't know what you've been talking about. Just to like both of you. Never was no difference between you. Want some oranges? It's better for you than chop suey. Sula, I got oranges. Nell walked hurriedly down the hall. Eva after her. Sula. Nell couldn't see the other woman today. That woman had upset her. She handed her pass back to the lady, avoiding her look of surprise. Outside, she fastened her coat against the rising wind. The top button was missing, so she covered her throat with her hand. A bright space opened in her head, and memory seeped into it. Standing on the riverbank in a purple and white dress, Sula, swinging Chicken Little around and around. His laughter before the hand slip and the water closing quickly over the place. What had she felt then? Watching Sula go around and around and the little boy swinging out over the water. Sula had cried and cried when she came back from Shadrach's house, but Nell had remained calm. Shouldn't we tell? Did he see? I don't know, no. Let's go. We can't bring him back. What did old Eva mean by you watched? How could she help seeing it? She was right there. But Eva didn't say see, she said watched. I did not watch it, I just saw it. But it was there anyway, as it had always been. The old feeling and the old question, the good feeling she had had when Chicken's hand slipped. She hadn't wondered about that in years. Why didn't I feel bad when it happened? How come it felt so good to see him fall? All these years, she had been secretly proud of her calm, controlled behavior when Sula was uncontrollable, her compassion for Sula's frightened and shamed eyes. Now it seemed that what she had thought was maturity, serenity, and compassion was only the tranquility that follows a joyful stimulation. Just as the water closed peacefully over the turbulence of Chicken Little's body, so had contentment washed over her enjoyment. She was walking too fast, not watching where she placed her feet. She got into the weeds by the side of the road, running almost. She approached Beechnut Park. Just over there, he stopped, trying to remember what he had seen her before. The effort of recollection was too much for him, and he moved on. He had to haul some trash out of Sunnydale, and it would be good and dark before he got home. He hadn't sold fish in a long time now. The river had killed them all. No more silver gray flashes, no more flat, wide, unhurried look. No more slowing down of gills. No more trimmer on the line. Shadrach and Nell moved in opposite directions, each thinking separate thoughts about the past. The distance between them increased as they both remembered gone things. Suddenly, Nell stopped. Her eyes twitched and then burned a little. "Sula," she whispered, gazing at the top of the trees. "Sula?" Leaves stirred, mud shifted. There was the smell of overripe green things. A soft ball of fur broke and scattered like dandelion spores in the breeze. All that time, I thought I was missing Jude. And the loss pressed down on her chest and came up into her throat. "We were girls together," she said as though explaining something. "Oh, Lord, Sula," she cried. "Girl, girl, 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 girl." It was a fine cry, loud and long, but it had no bottom and it had no top, just circles and circles of sorrow.
Thank you so much, Monica, for that impactful and dramatic reading. Looking forward to our conversation in just a few minutes, so everybody please stick around for that. I want to share a video from Toni Morrison herself about her own writing. The video was part of a PEN America special in 1982.
Hitler burnt books and used a phrase that's very interesting when he was condemning a certain kind of art in Munich. He said, we have to get rid of the artistic criminal. In other words, the idea of an artist as a criminal because of the production of his art is an idea that I never heard before and since. In other words, there could be such a thing as an illegal song or an illegal book. And you have to understand that I come from a race of people for whom at one time in this country it was illegal to be taught to read. It was illegal and punishable by physical punishment and sometimes fatal punishment to learn how to read. And white people who taught black people how to read were taking the risk of being punished. So that is more than a secular event as far as I'm concerned. And I think the same sensibilities that informed those people to make it a criminal act for black people to read are the ancestors of the same people who are making it a criminal act for their own children to read. And I don't see a great deal of difference between that. There is some hysteria associated with the idea of reading that is all out of proportion to what is, in fact, happens when one reads.
Toni Morrison wasn't just a great novelist. She was also a great lyricist, writing the words to the opera Margaret Garner. It is one of the few operas written by an African American. This historically inspired fiction tells the story of Margaret Garner, an enslaved woman who went to great lengths to obtain freedom for her family, including killing her own children to prevent their enslavement. Here's an excerpt from it. It is called A Quality Love from the Margaret Garner Opera. Now we have the honor of talking to Sarah Rosen. She is the Dean of the College of the Arts and Sciences at Georgia State University, where today's Read-a-Thon is taking place. Dean Rosen, thank you so much for joining us. You and I were talking before we had all these books, and you said, you can never overwhelm me with too many books. Books are your jam.
That's right. As an academic, that's what we do. We read books. I myself have not written books. I was in a journal article field, but done a lot of publishing, and we do a lot of reading and a lot of writing.
We're asking everybody today, what is the one book that has really touched you in some personal way, maybe impacted you, life-changing even?
Well, I don't know if I could point to one particular book, but myself being a Jewish American, I like to read about my heritage, where my family came from,
Sure.
which was they came from Odessa around 1907, 1905, and were forced out of their homes, came to the United States. And so I like to read books by people who really explore what it means to be Jewish and what Jewish culture is like and how our history shapes who we are. So Elie Wiesel, Chaim Potok, even Anne Frank, some of the others.
Elie Wiesel, I just have to say, he was one of my professors in college. It was the most impactful course, the history of genocide, and I mean, just really an honor.
Yeah.
Why is it important for all of us to explore our heritage and understand our history?
You know, I think we need to understand our own histories. We also need to understand the history of where we are and how we got to where we are, as an understanding of how we walk through the world, what our cultures mean, how we mix our cultures with the cultures of others, and to learn from our histories. There are certain parts of the history of the Jewish people we would hope never to repeat. There are other parts of the history of the Jewish people that we would love to repeat again and again and again. And I think it's important to go back in time in order for us to go forward in time.
One of the special things I think about this day is that it really connects all of us in some way. And it's not just this university or this particular program, but it really is around the world. How important is it that we understand each other and that we read each other's books that are really important to one another?
I think, again, it is very important so that we understand who we all are as humans. It's all about humanity. It's about how humanity walks through this world. And understanding each other's cultures and understanding where we are different, where we are the same, will allow us all to live together and to make this world a better place.
How do we attract students to literature, to books, to history? I mean, we have so many people that are, on TikTok, their phones. I mean, that's part of learning about life, but these are treasures.
You know, I think we need to help students learn that when they dive into a book, they can dive into a new reality. They can dive into the words, but they can also picture what's happening in that reality, and they can see themselves in that reality. Sure, they can do that on TikTok as well, but our hope is that they can do that through the written word, and you can dive into a lot of rich worlds through books that TikTok, those are maybe short little forays and not as deeply into where we can see ourselves and picture ourselves through the book.
And finally, Dean Rosen, what do you hope for CSAD?
Well, CSAD was created in order to provide for our students and our faculty the support and the resources to be able to study the effect of Africa and its diaspora and on those cultures and our cultures. And my hope for CSAD is to continue that faculty and student support, but also to outreach to the communities and understand the effect that our research can have on culture and on community.
All right. Dean Rosen, thank you so much. It is such a pleasure and a joy. And this is a special occasion. We're hoping, this is our pilot. This is our inaugural.
Yes,
we hope
is.
that we're going to go all around the world
Yes, we will.
next go-round.
We will be all over the world next go-round.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Atlanta icon, Monica Pearson. She is back with us for a quick chat. Monica, thank you so much. You are a dramatic reader.
Oh, Suzanne, it comes from,
I was like,
used
what?
to read, for 10 years I read weekly to first graders. So in order
Okay.
to keep them, you have to be dramatic.
We were just riveted by
Well,
your
thank
reading.
you.
I mean, that was amazing. Sula, I can't believe this. So this has been banned so many places. I mean,
know.
we grew up reading this. Well, what was the significance? You love.
I
could
love
tell you
this
love the book.
because it talks about women's friendships, and it talks about what pulls us apart, and how it's really important to cherish the female friends you have, no matter what they do or how they do it. Because with Nell and Sula,
Yep.
Sula comes back after living in the big city and actually takes Nell's husband.
Oh, good Lord! Yes, I do know that. I do know that.
And then they become friends again in a way. But when she dies, how her being there brought the city together. But then when she died, the city all fell apart because they no longer had that one person to dislike.
And you bring that to life. But this applies to today.
That's the point.
that's the thing,
That's
right?
the thing. This book is so relevant, particularly when we talk about Black feminist literature. This is one of the early ones that people really don't look at. And, everyone talks about The Bluest Eye, they talk about all the other books, but Sula is the one to me that really, when I first read it, I went, I get it. And the fact that the town, remember, the bottom is really the
That's
up.
right. That's right. It's the opposite.
The
Yes.
complete opposite, because when the white man discovers that he has given wonderful valley property to this black man, then he goes, oh no, it's really wonderful up on the top.
Yes. Yes.
And that still happens today.
Today. I want just a real quick quote here, because I think this is something that we all experience. This is Nell talking to Sula. He says, you can't do it all. You, a woman, and a colored woman at that, you can't act like a man. You can't be walking around all independent like, doing whatever you like, taking what you want, leaving what you don't. I dare say we've both done that.
Okay? And it's still true. We still hear people tell women, you need to slow down. But why? If I have the time, the energy, and the inclination to be all things to all people, and then at times to back up and say, I don't want to be bothered today. What part of NO do you not understand? What's wrong with that? It's each of us having to develop who we are. And that's what I love about this book. Each of these women decides, from Eva, the grandmother, to her daughter Hannah. All the women in this book have to decide how they want to be defined. And in the end, I think Sula is still the winner.
She is the winner.
She is the winner.
What advice would you give to young students, to young people, to pick up books again, right? To enjoy that experience of just reading an impactful book that might change your life.
When I need peace, I pick up a book. When I need to clear my mind, I pick up a book, because it has a way of centering me. I know that sounds strange, but reading for me is literally, as it goes, fundamental. So I got to ask you something.
Oh, I got
to ask you
now I'm
something.
being put on the spot.
No. Because you've been asking everyone about their favorite book and why, have you written a book? Why haven't you written a book?
Okay, I have a couple of books inside of me that I'm going to write, and I'm going to
When?
start this year. That is my goal this year, okay? So stay tuned. All right?
Promise?
I promise.
Because you have so much to share, not only from the news side, but growing up, a black woman who identifies as black, but who people want to make white.
New Orleans.
Yes.
New Orleans, the complicated history
Of New Orleans.
And
My
a lot
mother-
of people don't understand it. They
My
really
mother
don't.
went
They
to
don't get it.
school at St. Mary's Academy in New Orleans.
So my mom went to St. Mary's Academy.
My mother graduated in 1944.
Okay. And then she went on to Xavier.
And see, my mother couldn't afford to go to college because she worked her way through the school. Isn't this interesting?
This is amazing. My mother took the bus and the trolley to get to Xavier, and she lived with her parents, with her 4 siblings. That's how they got through college. And her mother packed a lunch, a sandwich for the day. And then she would take the trolley and the bus back home.
And my mom at St. Mary's worked in the nuns' quarters. She was in the band, but she was the first person in my family to graduate from high school. And she was 21 when she graduated because she was determined that that education was going to be her way out of Smoketown in Louisville, Kentucky, because that's where she was from.
Wow, Monica, we have stories. So
We
I want
do.
a book out of you too, by the way.
Well, my book is going to be about my mama saying. Can I leave you with one that's funny?
Yes.
My mother used to say to me all the time when I wanted to visit with a girlfriend across the street, she would never let me go there. And I tell this story to teenage girls. She said, Monty, if she had as many stuck out of her as stuck in her, she'd look like a porcupine. The message is, whoever touches you leaves an imprint, so protect who you are.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Monica, thank you so much for being
welcome,
here. This is a
Suzanne.
treasure. This is a treasure for me.
And I look forward to
appreciate it.
your book.
Oh, God. Okay, it's coming. Okay, I promise you heard it here, so it's going to happen. Also, of course, sisters Sally and Nettie, we are talking about The Color Purple. That is right. It is going to be an amazing thing to see. Up next. Thank you.
Let us stay, please, let us stay. I'll do anything for you. Let us stay. Get the hell out of my house. Let us stay. Let us stay. No.
You ain't never coming back here. Get out here. Get off my land! Hey, get off my land! Get off my land! You ain't welcome no more!
Hello, I am Akusua Busia, here in my homeland of Ghana, West Africa, and I'm thrilled to be a part of the Read-a-Thon organized by the Center for Studies in Africa and its Diaspora at Georgia State University. And I am going to read to you from The Color Purple. I was blessed to be in the film version, directed by Steven Spielberg, and written the book, the fabulous novel by the fabulous Alice Walker. So I played Nettie, so I'm going to read you a letter from Nettie to Celie that was not in the film, but it is in the book. Dear Celie, it has been a long time since I had time to write, but always, no matter what I'm doing, I am writing to you, dear Celie. Dear Celie, I say in my head, in the middle of Vespers, the middle of the night, while cooking, dear, dear Celie. And I imagine that you really do get my letters and that you are writing me back. Dear Nettie, this is what life is like for me. We are up at 5 o'clock for a light breakfast of millet porridge and fruit and the morning classes. We teach the children English, reading, writing, history, geography, arithmetic, and the stories of the Bible. At 11 o'clock, we break for lunch and household duties. From 1 until 4, it is too hot to move, though some of the mothers sit behind their huts and sew. At 4 o'clock, we teach our older children, and at night, we're available for adults. Some of the older children are used to coming to the mission school, but the smaller ones are not. Their mothers sometimes drag them here screaming and kicking. They are all boys. Olivia is the only girl. The Alinka do not believe girls should be educated. When I asked a mother why she thought this, she said, "A girl is nothing to herself. Only to her husband can she become something." "What can she become?" I asked. "Why," she said, "the mother of his children." "But I am not the mother of anybody's children," I said, "and I am something." "You are not much," she said. "The missionaries drudge." It is true that I work harder here than I ever dreamed I could work, and that I sweep out the school and tidy up after service, but I don't feel like a drudge. I was surprised that this woman, whose Christian name is Catherine, saw me in this light. She has a little girl, Tashi, who plays with Olivia after school. Adam is the only boy who will speak to Olivia at school. They are not mean to her. It is just, what is it? Because she is where they are doing boys' things, they do not see her. But never fear, Celie. Olivia has your stubbornness and clear-sightedness, and she is smarter than all of them, including Adam, put together. "Why can't Tashi come to school?" she asked me. When I told her the Alinka don't believe in educating girls, she said, quick as a flash, "They're like white people at home who don't want colored people to learn." Oh, she's sharp, Celie. At the end of the day, when Tashi can get away from all the chores her mother assigns her, she and Olivia secret themselves in my hut, and everything Olivia has learned, she shares it with Tashi. To Olivia right now, Tashi alone is Africa. The Africa she came beaming across the ocean hoping to find. Everything else is difficult for her. I wish you could see my hut, Celie. I love it. Unlike our school, which is square, and unlike our church, which doesn't have walls, at least during the dry season, my hut is round, walled, with a round leaf roof. It is 20 steps across the middle and fits me to a T. Over the mud walls, I have hung Alinka platters and mats and pieces of tribal cloth. The Alinka are known for their beautiful cotton fabric, which they hand weave and dye with berries, clay, indigo, and tree bark. Then there is my paraffin camp stove in the center, and my camp bed to one side, covered with mosquito netting so that it almost looks like the bed of a bride. Then I have a small writing table where I write to you, a lamp and a stool. Some wonderful rush mats on the floor. It is all colorful and warm and homey. My only desire for it now is a window. None of the village huts have windows. And when I spoke of a window to the women, they laughed heartily. The rainy season makes the thought of a window ridiculous, apparently, but I am determined to have one, even if a flood collects daily on my floor. I would give anything of a picture of you, Celie. In my trunk, I have pictures donated to us by the missionary societies in England and America. Pictures of Christ, the apostles, Mary, the crucifixion, Livingston, Stanley, Schweitzer. Maybe one day I'll put them up. But once, when I held them up to my fabric and mat-covered walls, they made me feel very small and unhappy. So I took them down. Even the picture of Christ, which generally looks good anywhere, looks peculiar here. We, of course, have all of these pictures hung in the school and many of Christ behind the altar at the church. That is enough, I think. Though Samuel and Corinne have pictures and relics, crosses in their hut as well. Your sister, Nettie.
That was a wonderful actress who played Nettie, the one you just saw in that scene, reading an excerpt from Alice Walker's The Color Purple. She's a Kosea Busia, and we were going to see her in the 11 o'clock hour as she reads some of her own literature. And now it is my turn to share a book that is near and dear to my heart. It is Nikki Giovanni's Cotton Candy on a Rainy Day. They're poems, and it really touched me in college. It spoke to where I was at the time, trying to figure out who I was. It is Cotton Candy on a Rainy Day, the collection, and Nikki Giovanni, she signed it, by the way. She was so real, she was so personal to me, introspective, and I just love her work. I met her much later in life, and I'd like to share a couple of poems, and just a few. This is Nikki Giovanni, Cotton Candy on a Rainy Day. Don't look now, I'm fading away into the gray of my mornings or the blues of every night. Is it my nails keep breaking, or maybe the corn on my second little piggy? Things keep popping out on my face or of my life. It seems no matter how I try, I become more difficult to hold. I am not an easy woman to want. They have asked the psychiatrists, psychologists, politicians, and social workers what this decade will be known for. There is no doubt it is loneliness. If loneliness were a grape, the wine would be vintage. If it were a wood, the furniture would be mahogany. But since it is life, it is cotton candy on a rainy day, the sweet, soft essence of possibility never quite maturing. I have prided myself on being in the great tradition, albeit circus, that the show must go on. Though in my community, the vernacular is, one monkey don't stop the show. We all line up at some midway point to thread our way through the boredom and futility, looking for the blue ribbon and gold medal. Mostly these are seen as food labels. We are consumed by people who sing the same old song, stay as sweet as you are in my corner, or perhaps just a little bit longer. But whatever you do, don't change, baby, don't change. Something needs to change. Everything, some say, will change. I need a change of pace, face, attitude, and life. Though I long for my loneliness, I know I need something or someone, or I strangle my words as easily as I do my tears. I stifle my screams as frequently as I flash my smile. It means nothing. I am cotton candy on a rainy day, the unrealized dream of an idea unborn. I share with the painters the desire to put a three-dimensional picture on a one-dimensional surface. That is Cotton Candy on a Rainy Day. I'm going to give you one more, this one called Crutches. It is not the crutches we decry, it's the need to move forward, though we haven't the strength. Women aren't allowed to need, so they develop rituals, since we all know working hands idle the devil. Women aren't supposed to be strong, so they develop social smiles and secret drinking problems, and female lovers whom they never touch except in dreams. Men are supposed to be strong, so they have heart attacks and develop other women who don't know their weaknesses and hide their fears behind male lovers whom they religiously touch each Saturday morning on the basketball court. It's considered a sign of health, don't you know? They take such good care of their bodies. I'm trying to say something about the human condition. Maybe I should try again. If you broke an arm or a leg, a crutch would be a sign of courage. People would sign your cast, and you could bravely explain, no, it doesn't hurt, it just itches. But if you develop an itch, there are no salves to cover the area in need of attention. And for whatever guilt may mean, we would feel guilty for trying to assuage the discomfort, and even worse for needing the aid. I really want to say something about all of us. Am I shouting? I want you to hear me. Emotional falls are always the worst, and there are no crutches to swing back on. Nikki Giovanni, Cotton Candy on a Rainy Day. She speaks to me. More up next. a clip from the 1977 miniseries Roots, starring LeVar Burton. The series was based on Alex Haley's best-selling novel Roots, the saga of an American family. So I got to share this. I found this dusted off copy from my parents. You can see tattered yellow pages, $5 at the time. I actually remember when Roots aired on TV. I was a kid, we were at a neighborhood slumber party, and all the parents, the adults, they were gathering around the TV, and my parents rushed to go home. They didn't want to miss a minute of this, and my family watched this all week, and every day they were talking about it. It was a catalyst actually for my dad, who started exploring our own family's genealogy, and it really became an obsession for him and so many of us African-American families throughout the country. He did research and interviews, the family tree, the whole thing. So this impacted so many, and the series itself, it received such rave reviews. It was watched by more than 100 million people at the time, I think. Won more than 35 Emmys, made LeVar Burton, John Amos, Ben Vereen, just global icons.
I saw white men.
What did you say?
I said, I saw white men.
For the rest of your lives, even when you have come to be men, you must be on guard against the white tobob and the black traders who help them. These things I'm going to tell you now you must hear with more than your ears, for not to do as I say can mean you're being stolen away to a place outside our world, outside of us, forever.
This is the inaugural Global Read-a-Thon for the Center for Studies on Africa and its Diaspora, coming to you from Georgia State University in Atlanta.